G'day, ZiggyD here with some Path of Exile news, sort of potential news. So basically, the developers of grinding gear games of Path of Exile are very active within the community. That means it's not that uncommon to see them like hang out in stream chats or on Reddit and answer questions basically and hint at things to come. So obviously that's really awesome, but it also means that for people that like to spend a lot of time hanging out in the Path of Exile places, in the locations like myself, there can be a lot of things to be learned about upcoming changes to the games. And hopefully today I'll share some of that with you guys, and hopefully it'll be pretty interesting. So obviously this is all potential changes. Nothing here is 100% confirmed. However, it's from a pretty good source. So the ones I'm talking about today on my very roughly scribbled notes are from Brian, one of the lead developers of grinding gear games essentially. And it's fairly reliable because these notes that I've actually taken here were done just his answers. He was hanging out in Crypt's stream, were done just before the recent major patch, which changed stun threshold reduction and minion targeting. And he actually mentioned both of those things in the stream, that they would be changed very soon. So, he mentioned them and then they were changed. So that can sort of give us an indication of how reliable the information he's giving out is towards actual future changes. So some of the things he's talked about is that the major one that I'm going to be focusing on is melee changes. So essentially they plan on adding a lot of new skills for melee changes. He actually said that their sort of end goal is to add 4 to 5 new skills every month, so something like a skill each week. Now he didn't explicitly state this, but I think that means skills and supports combined, so we might see like one skill and a couple supports or something like that, because I've heard that sort of figure mentioned elsewhere. So basically, the next major change, which I'm thinking will be 0.10.2 or 0.10.3, will feature some melee skills. So, especially things we're looking for are one-handed AoE abilities. So he's also mentioned in that Claw's AoE is coming very soon. So that can be something that I think we'll expect. I have no idea what sort of AoE melee abilities we'll be seeing, because it's kind of an interesting and difficult thing to design skills around. Melee is always a very hard thing to design skills on, because like there's only so many ways you can swing a sword basically. But it'll be interesting to see what they come up with that, especially on the support side of things, because supports that change the way AoE functions with melee skills, rather than just improving it slightly, like slightly increased AoE radius or life on hit and things like that. They're all good, but you want things that change the way it functions. Like with projectile attacks, you have so much versatility with the way that you can change things function. You can pierce, you can fork, you can chain, you can lessen multiple projectiles, you can greater multiple projectiles, and then you can combine all those things together. But with like an AoE melee ability like Cleave, you can just increase the radius or increase the concentrated effect and give it more damage. So there's not much versatility there for melee skills. So I think with the upcoming supports, hopefully we'll be seeing some really big increase, like versatility sort of support. So that's something to look forwards to. Something that I don't have written down here, but I have heard mentioned elsewhere, is that the Duellist starting area in the passive tree is going to be reworked. So what does that mean? That actually means that there'll be a forced respec soon. This will either be the next patch or the patch after, is what I'm speculating based on all of this. So they have mentioned in the past that whenever they make large changes to the passive tree, they will offer people respecs, because it's unfair to have people build a Duellist build and then change the tree, and sometimes that's actually going to change their build, and obviously you're going to have to give them a respec. But even if it doesn't touch their build, it changed what their build could have potentially been. So they're giving this free 100% full respecs. So if you have a Duellist leveled up and you're not entirely satisfied with them, don't just go ahead and delete them. Keep them around for a while, because when these forced respecs happen, you've essentially got a free leveled character that you can change. Like you might have to change all the gear and stuff, but the passive tree is the main thing, and you can reallocate all of those points. So like I've got my Blood Magic Bow Duellist. If I decide I want to create some new melee build based on some of the new skills that come out, then I can fully respec that guy when that forced respec happens. So Chris Wilson has mentioned that something like that will be happening fairly soon, and that they do plan on making some changes to the Duelist starting area, because they don't feel it's well defined enough. And there are a lot of issues with the Duelist starting area currently. There's not too many builds that take good advantage of what the Duelist area offers, and most of them are just better off starting as a Marauder or a Templar or a Ranger or something like that. So we should be seeing some improvements there soon. and that means that you can look forward to a respec. And you know, I think that respec will apply to everyone as well, because not just the duelists, basically, because any class can essentially head over to the duelist area, and any classes that have done that will need a respec. So I'm pretty sure it'll be a full respec for everyone. So a tip I wanted to mention about that was screenshot your builds, because often when there's large changes to the skill tree, the skill planner goes out of date. So essentially any links that you've got saved to the skill planner will be outdated, and in the past, they may fix this in the future, that, you know, it can load old builds or something like that, incomplete or something. But in the past, it's meant that all of these old links have been, they just don't do anything. It just says, you know, this is an outdated link. So if take some screenshots of your build, like save them in a file somewhere and keep them in case you do want to recreate your build exactly. If you don't want to like respec something else, it'll be very handy to have those around. So I've got some videos of my things, so I should be safe, but you guys might want to take some screenshots. So the next thing that Brian mentioned in Cripparian's chat was that phase run will be re-implemented hopefully soon. They're still trying to figure out what they can do with it to make it fulfill its purpose. So basically, a lot of you guys who didn't play in closed beta won't know what phase run is, even because it has never been an open beta. Essentially, it was Quicksilver Flask plus a melee damage bonus. So it was an ability that you cast, and it had a short cast time, but then it would increase your run speed. So because of that, pretty much every class used it, and that's against sort of Grinding Gear Games' design philosophy on how they want skills to function. They don't want skills to be 100% necessity for everyone, and it basically was. So that's why they implemented Quicksilver Flask, so everyone had access to a run speed bonus without it being a skill. Now, what they wanted phase run to actually be, and there's like trucks pulling up outside, man, was they wanted it to be a burst damage improvement for melee, to let them get in really fast, deal a lot of damage, and then, you know, get out really fast. So to influence that play style, I'm just going to wait for that truck, and listen to that. Anyway, they wanted it to be, you know, get in really fast, do a lot of damage, get out really fast, to influence that sort of melee playstyle, but it just really wasn't being used for that. Very few builds actually used it for its intended purpose. So they're going to be redesigning it, and, you know, I don't really know what they could do with it, really. Focus more on the damage side of things, or melee utility, or have it only work with certain weapon types or something, but it should be coming back soon. I don't know exactly if it'll be in this next patch or so, but it's one I'm looking forwards to, because I think it's a cool skill. It's cool to have mobility skills like that in the game that just do make you run faster and do more damage and things like that. I'm keen to see it come back anyway. But so in terms of more general game improvements, something that a lot of people have been asking for is floating health bars and, you know, floating damage numbers and things like that. This is sort of pretty divisive in the community, but I'm usually of the mind with these sort of things that if people want it, then there should be an option that they can enable to have that, and, you know, it's not forced on everyone. So people who want to play without it can play without it, and people who want to play with it can play with it. I don't know which side of the fence I'll sit on for that. Usually I like having a lot of information on screen, you know, coming from StarCraft 2, where I always have the health bars and things like that enabled, but in Path of Exile I've kind of enjoyed not having it, so I don't know if when it gets implemented I'll actually use it. But at the moment it's in testing, so I don't know if we'll be seeing that in the next patch or two, but it'll be something that's coming soon. So if you've been looking forward to having the floating damage text and health bars, then that is something you can look forward to actually happening, since they're testing it now. If they're testing it, there's a fairly good chance that it will be actually put into the game. So Act 3X is also coming soon, so there's been some talk about the additions to Act 3 they're doing. Basically, Act 3 isn't finished, which is crazy because it seems like such a massive act already. But basically, where you enter the Scepter of God and that takes you into the next difficulty at the moment, they're going to be adding a bit of extra content onto that. So it sounds like it'll be a couple of zones, maybe a couple of missions, which is, again, it's really interesting because it feels like Piety is the main boss fight. So does that mean there's going to be another boss fight at the end? If so, that's pretty cool and pretty exciting stuff. So we can expect Act 3X to be coming pretty soon. When Brian mentioned this, he said he saw the design documents, so that suggests it's still a little whiles off. It might be a month or two off if it's, you know, still in design document phase, or not too far off that, or, you know, it's only very early testing stages. But Basically, it sounds like it's going to be pretty awesome, and it's something that's coming soon. As for Act 4, that's very roughly planned for the end of the year, but it could be something like early next year or even mid next year. I don't think they're going to rush them out too much. They would prefer them to be ready, I'm sure. And that's pretty much it for those listed notes that I've taken. So the main points to take from all of this is that if you've been building a melee build, especially one-handed, then you can look forward to some skill and support gems being included in the game fairly soon. And if you play a duelist, then you can look forward to some improvements to the duelist starting area. And for all classes, potentially expect a full respec soon, and prepare for that by either screenshotting your build or thinking about ways that you might want to redesign your characters. If you've had some builds leveled up that you weren't really very fond of, then maybe they will become useful in the future. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this potential news and found it intriguing, as I often find this sort of stuff pretty exciting. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.